with me to 1 Samuel 5. 1 Samuel chapter 5. 1 Samuel chapter 5. We're going to read verses 3 and 4 in your hearing. 1 Samuel chapter 5, verses 3 and 4 in your hearing. I want to, before I get into this message, I want to encourage the body of Christ on today. In a day and a time that we live in, it has almost become acceptable to live this way on every other day except for Sunday. But then on Sunday, that is when I get spiritual. That is when I really get into the press of seeking God. And it has also become a formality that we can live any kind of way that we want to live throughout the week. We can do whatever things that we want to do throughout the week. But on Sunday is when I feel the most spiritual. On Sunday is when I feel the most connected to God. And I'm not saying that anything is necessarily wrong with that mentality, but what I will tell you is you're missing a whole nother aspect of God if that's the only time. Come on here, can anybody relate to that? If that's the only time you really get close to God, if that's the only time you really feel connected to God is on Sunday, then you are missing so much more, because your God is more than a Sunday God. Your God is God enough to give you that same thing on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and also on Sunday. So what I'm saying to you, and I'm trying to encourage you in that, is that your God is more than a Sunday God. Your God is more than just a God that you come and you hear the preacher preach about on Sunday. He wants to be with you on every day throughout the week. And also he wants you to be with him every day throughout the week. That doesn't mean that, all of your time has to be consumed, but we do want to make sure that we are offering him that time. And I do not want you to be settled in your mind with just having a Sunday type of relationship with God. That's the only time that I really do away with some of the things that I want to do. And that's the only time that I really make those sacrifices is on Sunday, because your God is bigger than just Sunday. So I just want to encourage you in that. And I want to encourage everybody to open your ears and really hear what God is saying in this message that he has given to me to share with you on today. And we just thank God for that. And again, I'm going to read it for you. Our scripture text will be coming from 1 Samuel chapter 5. We're going to read verses 3 and 4 in your hearing. And when they of Ashad rose early on the morrow, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the earth before the ark of the Lord. And they took Dagon and set him in his place again. Verse 4. And when they arose early on the morning, the next morning, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the ground before the ark of the Lord. And the head of Dagon and both the palms of his hands were cut off upon the threshold, and only the stump of Dagon was left to him. And if I could use for a subject message today, I would like to use, I will fight this myself. I will fight this myself. And the Ark of the Covenant was sacred. The Ark of the Covenant symbolized the ruling presence of God amongst his people. So it was like if you saw, in our modern day time, if you saw two golden arches, you would automatically, it's automatically understood that you can expect to receive McDonald's food, or you are somewhere in the presence of a McDonald's. So that's basically giving you an idea of what the Ark of the Covenant stood for. It represented the ruling presence of God amongst his people. So the Ark was understood to mean that the people lived a life of holiness and obedience unto God, and that God would protect his people. And the children of Israel, they are in a war with the Philistines. And in the first part of the fight, they lose about 4,000 men. About 4,000 men were killed. And as the fight continues and as they are suffering defeat, the elders suggest taking the Ark of the Covenant to the battlefield where the fight is really going on. The elders say, if we can just take the Ark of the Covenant, because remember what the Ark of the Covenant stood for. It was understood that those were people who were living a life of obedience to God, and that in return God would protect them. So that was understood in their mind, that if they used the Ark of the Covenant, that God would protect them. So the elders got together and they said, let's take the Ark of the Covenant to the battlefield. They took the Ark of the Covenant, and not only they took it to the battlefield, but not only were they trying, and basically the Ark of the Covenant was to present an image to their enemies as if they were spiritual. It was basically saying, hey, we are spiritual. Not only were they trying to present themselves in a certain light, but they were also giving off a sound. The sound was meant to relay or to give somebody the idea that they were spiritually strong. And the two main areas that people are most deceived in is in how it looks and how it sounds. And the children of Israel were imitating a spiritual look and a spiritual sound. And today, as well as back then, we are fooled in those two areas, at how it looks and how it sounds. Has anybody ever been fooled by how it looks and how it sounds? You ain't got no evidence of nothing else, but I'm just going based off how it looks and how it sounds. If we see somebody with a long dress on and we see somebody with a long dress on, we automatically think they're what? Type that over in the chat section. They got a long dress on and they got the little white cloth on their head. We automatically think that they are what? Let's just be honest. We know different. But when we look at them, yes, we think that certain thought about them. And so that's what the children of Israel had done. They took the Ark of the Covenant and they were presenting themselves to look spiritual. Not only was the intent to make it look and sound but what they were also doing is they were trying to back God in a corner. And that was their way. Taking the Ark of the Covenant was their way of saying, hey, God, we're using your name on this. And you don't want your name to look bad. So in this fight, we are expecting you to give us the victory because we are using your name. But the Philistines, they defeat the children of Israel. Not only did they suffer defeat, but now they have lost about 4 times as many men as they did in the first part of the battle. With the Ark of the Covenant present, they have lost about 4 times as many more men. They were saying to God, God, you got to fight for us because we are using your name. But God knows the difference at when his name is being used for his glory or when his name is being used for self-gratification. God knows when his name is only being used for the sole purpose of wanting the situation to change without our hearts and minds being changed. Oh, did somebody just catch that? God knows the difference. He's intelligent enough to know the difference, because sometimes we, watch this, sometimes we will only use God's name when we are in trouble, when we're facing financial difficulties, when our children or when our spouse and things are not going right in those types of relationships. We will only use God's name, watch this, when we got problems at our job. We will only use God's name when the situation is discomforting to us, when we don't like the results of what we are getting. That's the only time we really use God's name. But God knows the difference. And sometimes God is not coming because he knows the purpose at why we're really using his name. And the Philistines, I'm going to go back to that, but the Philistines have defeated them. In addition to the Philistines defeating the children of Israel, they have now taken the Ark of the Covenant back with them. Now, the thing I need for you to understand, or I would like for you to understand about this, is that when they took the Ark of the Covenant back to their city, they were not taking the Ark of the Covenant back to worship the God that they just defeated. They were taking the Ark of the Covenant back because they worship pagan gods. They worship idols. And one of their idol gods was named Dagon. And they took the Ark of the Covenant back and they placed the Ark of the Covenant in front of their God, their idol god Dagon, as a way of saying, our God has defeated your God, or our God has defeated you, so you must bow down. Sometimes it looks like we are in situations where we're not going to win, where we can't win. And this is one that is going to go down in the book as a loss. And in this case, this is exactly what this situation was looking like. Have you ever prayed a prayer and asked God to do something for you, and it did not turn out the way that you thought that it was going to turn out? It didn't turn out the way that I thought it was going to turn out. It didn't turn out the way that I thought it was going to turn out. Oh my God, what is this? What is happening? Am I going out with a loss on this? And in this case, it looked like God was powerless. It looked like God was powerless in this situation. The children of Israel suffered defeat. The Ark of the Covenant has been taken, and it has been brought back as a trophy to showcase the defeat and encourage the people in pagan worship. They were basically saying, look what our God did. He's stronger. Can you imagine the people of the pagan cities of the Philistines, when they have captured the Ark of the Covenant, how they feel about their God? That's basically what the Philistines were saying. They were saying, look, our God did this. He's stronger. He's more powerful. You are serving the right God, because this God that they've been trying to get you to serve, look, we've captured the Ark of the Covenant. We've also defeated his people. And I want to give you this. And one of the important facts is, when they built these idols, and when they made these idols were not like Christmas ornaments or figurines that can be easily knocked over. We're talking about statues that had to be big enough. This statue of Dagon had to be big enough that it hovered over the people, over the masses of people that would come and worship it. And these idols that they made, they would weigh anywhere between hundreds to thousands of pounds. Again, they had to be big enough to hover over the people, and they weighed anywhere between hundreds to thousands of pounds. But when the Philistines got up the next morning and they go to worship Dagon, they find this massive idol on his face. They find him on his face, and he's bowed down before the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord. They see what they see, but they believe what they believe. So what did they do? They stood him back up, and they put him back in his place. Be careful at what place you give someone or something in your life because of what you believe or what you want to believe about them or about that thing, despite the truth. Oh, did somebody catch that? Be careful at what place you give someone or something in your life because of what you believe or because of what you want to believe, despite the supporting truths that you actually see. Many people hold on to toxic relationships because of what they want to believe. Many people also hold on to known sins. They hold on to things that they know do not please God, all because they somewhere in their mind believe that God will bless them anyway and anyhow. They believe what they want to believe, no matter what is said, because it's just what they want to believe. You can be telling them the truth, but because they want to believe it, they will override the truth and they will get an attitude with you. They will cut you off. They won't call you no more. They won't text you no more. Can anybody relate to that? I told them the truth, but they cut me off because they believed what they wanted to believe. They had all the supporting evidence to prove. Can you imagine? They walk in and they see this massive idol on his face, bowed down before the ark of the Lord, but still yet they put the thing back up. They gave it place again. And so after they put it back in its place again, that was their way of saying, I believe what I believe. You're not going, I don't care what's happening. You're not going to change my mind about what I believe. The greatest belief that a person has is shown by the greatest acts that they commit, what they do the most of. If you really want to know, and I just want to drop this PSA on you, if you really want to know what a person believes, and let's just be honest, most of us gather an idea about what a person believes by what? Type that over in the chat section for me. Most of us gather an idea about what a person really believes by what? By what they say. Come on here. Most of us will believe, if a person tells us that they believe God, we will believe them because that's what they said. I trust God. I believe God. But watch this. The greatest belief that a person has is shown by their greatest acts that they commit, what they do the most. If you want to know what a person really believes, then you need to watch what they do the most of. Oh, did somebody just catch that? Because a lot of us have been fooled by what they said. Some of us have fell in love with the wrong person because of what they. Some of us have got into some bad business deals because of what they. All because of what they said. And most of the time, I want to serve notice on you. Most of the time, do you know that people know the right thing to say? Because they have listened at you tell them what you want. Woo, did you catch that? So all they have to do is to repeat what you have said, because you have already told them what you want. And so when they're repeating to you what you told them that you want, you think that they're saying the right thing. Yes. We say that cliché-ishly, that their action speaks louder than their words, but oftentimes we are putting more emphasis on their words than we are their actions. Come on, if we just be truthful about it. We put more emphasis on their words than we do their actions, which oftentimes put us in a position to where we keep giving them places in our lives. Be careful at what place you give to someone or something because of what they said that you want to believe. But they come in the next morning. Again, this is the second morning that they come in. After they have stood Dagon back up from the first morning, they come in the next morning. But the next morning, they find Dagon again on his face before the ark of the Lord. But this time, his hands and his head had been taken off and found in the doorway of the temple. I need for somebody to grab that. God ain't finished. Look at your situation. I don't care what has happened, but God ain't finished. Whatever you've been dealing with, whatever you've been going through, the discomfort of it, I need for you to grab it and say, God ain't finished. I know they kept trying, because come on, the Philistines, they put him back in place and they come back again to worship the next morning. But they find the situation worse than what it was the day before. Sometimes when the situation gets worse, could it be it's an indication that God is working? Oh, come on here. Could it be an indication that God says, I ain't finished yet? Oh my God. God ain't finished. Not only did they find Dagon in a worser place than what he was, but because they have took something that does not belong to them. They took the Ark of the Covenant and they took it back to their pagan city of worship. Not only is Dagon all broken up and messed up, but now the people, as you keep reading in chapter 5, the people are getting tumors. And the people, I need for y'all to hear this, the people are getting tumors and they are dying. A pandemic has broke out. Because they've given place to something that was never meant to have place in their lives. Oh God. And it's getting worse. And it's getting worse. And it's getting worse. A pandemic has broke out. People are dying left and right. I'm going to say that again. A pandemic has broke out. And people are dying left and right. All because they've given place to something and they've took something that was never meant to have place in their lives. And they knew it was because they had unauthorized. They were unauthorized to take the Ark of the Covenant. And so basically what they began to do was they began to pass the Ark of the Covenant around from city to city. And every city that they would pass the Ark of the Covenant around to, that city would begin to get plagues and the people would begin to get sick. And every city was feeling the decision and the effects made by just a few people. I just need for somebody to understand the decisions that you make, they have impact on more people other than just yourself. So therefore, if I'm really going to be a responsible adult, if I'm really going to be a responsible person, I got to make sure that I manage the choices that I make, because my choices have impact that not only impacts me, but my choices impact everybody that I am connected to. The officials, the high-ranking officials made the decision, but the people under them were feeling the effects of it. And after so much tragedy, the Philistines said, the people began to cry out. And the people said, we got to send this ark back where it's supposed to be. We got to send it back because we're not authorized to have it. And we're going through so much right now. It's one thing happening after another. We got masses of people dying. How many of you know when we put God back in his right place, we gonna see some things change? When we just stop treating God as if he is a Sunday God. That's when we gonna really see some things change. And the outcry of the people was heard, and preparation began to happen to send the Ark of the Covenant back. But watch this, because they believed what they believed, they still had some trickery in them. They were still playing games. So what they did was they got two milk cows that had just had babies, and they had calves. And these cows have never been yoked, so they have never carried anything of a heavy load before. And naturally, if these cows are milk cows and they have never been yoked before, naturally, they were supposed to resist being yoked. They were supposed to resist the harness that was being put on their neck. And they were supposed to naturally go back and have such a maternal instinct that they would go back and try to milk their calves. But instead of that happening, so you see what I'm saying? They were trying to stack the deck against God. Because in their heart of hearts, watch this, they knew that they were not supposed to have the Ark of the Covenant, but they also knew that so much chaos was going on that they couldn't keep it. Have you ever been in a situation where you know that you wasn't supposed to keep something, but you were still trying to hold on to it? So you're trying to stack the deck against God to say, well, if God don't want me to have it, then, he'll take it away from me. No, God ain't taking that, baby. He said, you got to give it to me. If you really believe. He said, I ain't taking it. You got to give it. And sometimes when we make those statements, that's us trying to stack the deck against God, all because we don't want to let it go. And so the Philistines, they stacked the deck against God. They stacked the deck against God. And they get these two cows who were naturally supposed to go the opposite direction. So they put the harness on the cows, and the cows were supposed to go in the opposite direction of delivering the ark. But I just need for y'all to type it over in the chat section. But God. These cows, they went against what they were supposed to be doing, all to manifest the will of God. Mm. I need for you to catch that. They went against what they were supposed to do just to do the will of God. It wasn't supposed to happen that way. It was supposed to go another way, but God. I've been in some situations that it wasn't supposed to work out in my favor, but God. I've been in some situations where it looked like I wasn't going to come through, but God. I've had some things stacked up against me. This person didn't do right by me, but God. This person said they was going to help me, but they didn't, but God. This person said that they was going to do this for me, but they didn't, but God. They said I had the loan, but God. They said I had the house, but God. Does anybody in life meets the word know what it's like to have the deck stacked against you, but God? They left me or I left them and it was supposed to go another way, but God, I ain't missed a beat. I gave up some things and some people, but God. And naturally, they say when I give up some things and some people, it's supposed to possibly go the opposite direction for me, but God. And the ark makes it back. The cows go against and they defy. They defy what was supposed to be done, all just to execute the will of God. The Ark of the Covenant makes it back. And I need for you to understand, as the cows are taking the Ark of the Covenant back and they're being guided by God, there were 5 Philistine officials that were traveling, watch this, that were traveling behind the cows, watching to see how this was going to turn out. I need for y'all to understand there's some of your enemies that are watching and they're peeping and they're dragging behind this situation because they're looking to see how it's going to turn out for you. But I need for you to know you're going to still reach your destination. As long as you follow the will of God concerning your life, you're going to make it to where you were supposed to be. You're going to have what you're supposed to have. Ain't going to be nothing missing. Ain't gonna be nothing lacking, ain't gonna be nothing broken. I need for y'all to watch this. Get your popcorn and your juju beads, because y'all about to watch this thing turn out, because but God. They sitting back watching. Is the marriage gonna fail? But God. Is the business gonna work? Keep watching, because but God. Are their finances going to fail? Are they going to file bankruptcy? Keep watching, but God. Are they going to make it through? Are they going to lose their mind? Keep watching, but God. And they're watching. The one who devised the plan, carried out the plan. They also got to be the ones that see God preserve his promises. They gonna see God fight for himself. Come on here. I hope some of y'all caught that. That's why some of them still sending y'all message, because they watching and they seeing that God ain't left you. Come on here. They see that you didn't go down. They see that what they thought was gonna happen didn't happen. So that watch this. They're undisputably, undeniably seeing that God is for you, that God is fighting for you. And one of the biggest misconceptions is we think that God has to use us to fight. God didn't use the children of Israel to fight. And it wasn't about the children of Israel winning the fight. Because how many of us know some of the things that we think we're fighting, they really ain't our fight anyway? I'm going to say that again. Some of the things that we think that are our fight, is really not our fight. Because God said, I can fight this myself. And if you really look at scripture, there's only one fight that God told you to fight. Come on here. I need for you to catch that. There's only one fight that God really told you to fight. And if you know what that fight is, type it over in the chat section. Because oftentimes, if we're not careful, we will find ourselves fighting the wrong fight. We think we're fighting the fight of finances. We think, thank you, Miss Tani. We think that we're fighting the fight of finances. We think that we're fighting the fight of success. Come on here. We think that we're fighting the fight of a good business, of owning a good business. But God never told us to fight in those things. He said, fight the good fight of faith. That should have been a release of somebody right there. The trouble in your marriage, you ain't got to fight that. The trouble in your finances, you ain't got to fight that. The trouble in your mind, you don't have to physically fight those things. And that's why some of us are so tired, is because we're trying to fight a spiritual fight with a physical mentality, with a natural mentality. But God never told us to fight those fights in our natural selves. He said, fight the good fight of faith. And let me tell you something. When you have real true faith will always produce one thing. Real true faith will always produce obedience. We think faith produces results first. I need for you to understand this. True faith in God will always produce obedience first. And it's your obedience that will bring the results of the promise. And oftentimes, because we think of it out of order, we're thinking because I say, God, I trust you. God, I believe you. Then I'm automatically supposed to get the results. But true faith in God will always produce obedience first. And obedience is what's going to bring the results. Watch what happens. Because as Samuel gets word that the Ark of the Covenant has returned, Samuel now in 1 Samuel chapter 7, I'm going to read verses 2, 3, and 4 for you. 1 Samuel chapter 7, I'm going to read verses 2, 3, and 4. And it came to pass, while the ark abode in Kiriath-jearim, that the time was long, for it was 20 years. And all the house of Israel lamented after the Lord. They were crying after the Lord. And Samuel spake unto the house of Israel, saying, now watch this now. They're crying because they ain't really seen a move of God in 20 years. Is there anybody else who say, I ain't seen God move in a long time? I've been praying. I've been believing. I've been decreeing and declaring, but I ain't seen nothing in a long time. It's been 20 years. And Samuel spake unto all the house of Israel, saying, if ye do return unto the Lord with all your heart, and put away strange gods and Ashtoreth from among you, and prepare your hearts unto the Lord, and serve him only, and he will deliver you out of the hand of the Philistines. Wait a minute. The Philistines already defeated them. But guess what? Some of us don't even realize that the thing that defeated me is still coming back to fight me, because it was not good enough for the thing to defeat me, because its whole motive is to destroy me. Come on here. This is why some of us keep fighting the same fight, because it's not good enough for that thing just to defeat you, because that thing is trying to destroy you. This is why you keep fighting the same fight. But Samuel is giving you the key at how you can walk in victory, because Samuel tells them, he said, if you will turn away from serving your other gods, and said, only serve the one and true living God. He said, and he will deliver you out of the hand of the thing that defeated you. He will deliver you so it will not destroy you. Come on here. Because some of the things that we are fighting, it's just not comfortable. It's just not satisfied with defeating us. It's out to destroy you. But notice what he's saying as we get ready to close. It says, and he will deliver you, not you will deliver you. Because some of this stuff that we trying to make happen, God says, that's my fight. That's what I have designated for myself to do. He said, I'm not going to let you do it. That's why that's why you're so frustrated. That's why you're so distraught, because you're trying to fight something when God is saying, I meant for myself to fight this. All I asked you to fight was the good fight of faith. Because if you can fight the good fight of faith, your faith will produce obedience, and your obedience is going to manifest the results and the promises that I have promised for you. The children of Israel are crying, and Samuel gives them the instructions. And Samuel said, if you will stop serving other gods. God, watch this. I need for y'all to understand. Samuel is not telling them that they're going to get victory. Samuel is not telling them that they're just going to get a win. Samuel said, you're going to be delivered from this thing. Is there anybody that needs to be delivered from some things? I got some things I've been wrestling with, and every time I turn around, it's like it keeps coming back to fight me. I thought I've overcame financial trouble. I thought I've overcame this, that, and the other, but it keeps coming back to fight me. Watch what the children of Israel did. Then the children of Israel did put away Balaam and Ashtaroth and served. Read it what it says. There's a specific word in verse 4. And served the Lord only. They heard the word that Samuel said as being unctioned by the Lord. But not only did they hear it, they did it. Because oftentimes, if we're not careful, we get satisfied with just hearing a word. I heard a good word on Sunday. But did you do it? 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 Did you do the word?